Hi, this is Julie with an invitation to you before we begin. This Mother's Quest May, we're committed to sharing resources and inspiration to help you say yes to yourself and your epic life, including our annual Manifesto Challenge, now as a self-guided course, culminating in a live celebration on Zoom on May 21st. Follow the links in the show notes or join the Facebook group at mothersquest.com/community to learn more and sign up. Now, on to the show, this first episode of Season 8 of the Mother's Quest podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Mother's Quest, a podcast for moms like me ready to live our own truly epic life. I'm Julie Neal, a life and leadership coach, community builder, writer, and mom to two high-energy boys who challenge me to grow into my best self. I'll be right there. Where was I?
In 2018, I sat down for a special Mother's Day episode with Graeme Seabrook, a life coach and maternal health advocate, affectionately known by the thousands of mothers she supported as the Mom for Moms. We hit it off immediately, delving deep into her Motherhood Bill of Rights and my epic life framework, and noticing that both had become like manifestos for how we wanted to live our lives while raising our children. During that episode, we co-created what we called a Manifesto Challenge, inviting other mothers to create their own. And afterward, we would reconnect in some way each May, grateful to know that the episode and the challenge could spark an opportunity for others to reclaim themselves in motherhood too. In 2021, Graeme became ill, didn't recover, and spent the next several years in bed, visiting doctors, and coming to terms with the fact that she had somehow suffered brain damage. Along the way, she realized she would need to burn her old manifesto down to the ground before creating it anew. Living and mothering through hard, and as she said, sometimes life-threatening times, she started feeling better and has reemerged, reframing her work in the world now as a front-porch philosopher who writes about the intersection between modern motherhood and humanity. When I read a recent blog post from Graeme and realized this would be the 5-year anniversary of the Manifesto Challenge, I reached out. I asked if she felt up to recording a special episode with me where we could interview one another, reflect on the changes and challenges in our lives, and reconnect about the power of manifestos. Our hour together was more unstructured than my typical interviews. It was real and unfiltered and filled with Graeme's signature blend of laughter, tears, and powerful insights. I'm so glad that Graeme said yes to my invitation, and I'm honored to share this episode with you. I hope you'll leave this conversation, as Graeme and I both did, open to the truth that change sometimes sucks, but there can be unexpected joys discovered along the way. And there's always power in owning and sharing our stories. I'm Julie Neal, and this is Mother's Quest.
So then let's jump into the messy middle. I would like to start with a question for you. And maybe what we could do is we can sort of, kind of take turns asking of one another.
Sure. Yeah.
So much life I know has happened for you in the last 5 years, and in particular in the last few years. What are some of the core experiences, core stories of your epic life that have formed since we were together on the podcast?
Man, you really are just like, let's go to the deep end. I thought that I knew this before, but I didn't. Sometimes we know things in our head, but we don't know them in our bones. We don't know them in our gut. We know things intellectually, but we haven't really processed them and felt into them and lived into them. And that's a different kind of knowing. And there are a ton of family stories about me. I think we all have those, Someone is the smart one in their family. Someone is the screw up. Someone is the funny one. Someone's the pretty one. Someone's the one you can always count on. There's a million family stories about all of us. And I started unpacking in therapy that the ones about me were just wrong, like massively wrong, like just wrong. I started unpacking that in therapy like 10 years, a long time ago when my son was born. So yeah, like 10 years ago. Oh my God, how is he going to be 10? Like 10 years ago. Focus, Graeme. But these last couple of years have proven to me, and I now know in the marrow of my bones, like all the way in my soul, all the way through, that those stories are wrong. I am not lazy. I am not flighty. I know how to finish things. I work really, really hard. All of these things that I just really didn't know it before. And I don't know if it was, the universe or God or coincidence, or I don't know. Something or someone out there decided that I needed a lesson. And yeah, I think I am finally starting to pass the tests. I am finally starting to be like, oh, right. Yeah. All of those funny stories from my childhood are maybe not quite as funny as I thought they were. And those stories about who I am in relation to the world, those stories that I was told about who I am in relation to the world, maybe those are not as valid as the story that I'm writing myself about who I am in relation to the world.
What has happened for you in the last 5 years, and possibly in the last 2 in particular, that has helped you to learn this lesson in your bones?
I've had to make a lot of really hard choices. And I got really sick. And for a really long time, we still don't 100% know what the heck is wrong with me, which is fine because I've never known what was wrong with me like my whole life. But now there's like really specific things and we don't know exactly what's going on. But I had to make some really, really hard choices because of that. And seeing the way other people have reacted to those, especially people in my family, I'm like, whoa, oh, okay. I thought I was selfish because I was told growing up, and my whole life that I'm the selfish one and that other people in my family are these amazing givers who are so generous and who are so thoughtful of others. And all of a sudden it has become extremely clear that that's not true, just obviously clear. I think the way that certain people in our lives and just around us have reacted to things, it started in the pandemic and the way that people reacted to masking or not and going in crowds or not and getting vaccinated or not. And the way that we talked about that was either, for a lot of people, it was very community based. Like I am thinking about what is best for the people around me, right? And then for others, it was very individually based. Like I'm going to do what I need to do to feel better, period, the end. And there were a lot of people in my life that I expected to be community based who ended up being very individually based. And I was shocked. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know them at all. And then I realized, well, if I didn't know them at all, do they know me? Oh, wait, no, they don't. Wait, so why have I been allowing these people to judge me for 40 some odd years when I'm realizing now that they don't know me at all? It's really weird. I have a new basis for the folks who are allowed to judge me have to be able to see me clearly. They don't have to like me. They don't have to like me. They don't have to agree with me. They can think I am crappy and horrible. That's totally allowed. But you have to be able to see me and all of my circumstance clearly. And then I will accept your judgment as valid. I may or may not change anything about it. I might just be like, yeah, well, yep. I might just have to be the crappy person. Like, that's okay, right? I'm trying to say all of this without naming names because they're family members and I don't need to be more ostracized. That makes sense, But that is something that I have now required of not just family members, but also friends and also just people in general, I don't accept random judgments anymore. And that's been really hard because I've been stuck in this bed for 2 years. And so when you're told that you're lazy your whole life and then you get sick and you literally can't get out of bed, that's a head trip. That will mess with your mind because it seems to be proof. I mean, on the surface, it's obviously proof.
What enabled you to come to this deep understanding from where you've been in your bed for these years?
I have amazing friends. When I tell you, okay, now I'm going to cry again. We have a rule. All right. There are people in my life who just wouldn't let me, who yelled at me and like literally cussed me out and like screamed at me for saying things like, it would be like stream of 4-letter words. In what bleeping world should you be able to do these things? Like, didn't you just get back from the doctor yesterday? Haven't you said that your pain has been at a 7 and we can't find any, like my friends just yelled at me in the most loving of ways. I don't want it to sound like they were bullying me, but they did kind of, and I needed it. That is what I needed to break through that wall, to break through 40 some odd years of thinking one way. Quiet kindness was not going to do it. Not for me. For me, I needed people to be like, well, now you're just being ridiculous and I'm not going to talk to you until you start being kinder to yourself. And yeah, they would just yell at me. And then the next day, there would be a 3-pound bag of pink Starburst showed up at my house from my friend Kaylin.
Clearly, that's your favorite flavor.
Well, it should be everybody's favorite. It is. It's my favorite. And this is after they had just gone off on me in our group chat for doubting myself and saying that I should be able to, I think it was like putting my daughter to bed or something. They were just like, that's utterly ridiculous. It is the end of the day. It is when you have the least amount of energy. You've been sick all day. Your body is trying to keep you alive. And that is really hard right now. And then the next day there were Starbursts. So it was this like combination. And it wasn't just them, Joanna has done things like that, and Marisa and Alexis and Jess. Like there's all of these women around me, and some of them are moms and some of them aren't moms, but they get it. And they love me and they love Adam and they love our kids and they just never let me go. My friend Jenny sends me puns on my phone 3 or 4 a day for years. And there have been months when I haven't been able to answer her. Like I haven't been able to say, ha. I haven't been able to do a little thumbs up reaction thing, And these people just have not let me go. And I know they're smart and I know they're strong and I know they're busy. So if they haven't let me go when they have all of these other very important things to be doing, there's got to be a reason. And at some point, I have got to accept that the reason is that I am worth their time and their energy and their love and their care.
All the tears. So it's so interesting. The other thing that is a 5-year anniversary right now, we just realized this yesterday, is I have this Mother's Quest circle. That was the first virtual circle I ever facilitated. And the first date, we looked it up, was April 17th, 2018. So we just passed our 5-year anniversary. And not all of the mothers in the circle, but almost all of them decided they wanted to stay connected on the Voxer channel. And we're in almost daily communication with one another, sometimes more than once a day. And we have been through so many things in our lives. And it's just really remarkable what it's like to show up for one another. And in a way, because we're not in our daily lives, there's almost a different kind of intimacy and knowing and depth that shows up there. So I just want to acknowledge my crew of people on, we do it on Voxer, but also honoring and acknowledging your friends, your group chat. Those connections are amazing.
We're on signal. I think it's really important to have like a smaller group, that you can really, really be 100% honest with. I think especially for folks like you and me who do a lot of healing and supporting of others, like we need a place where we can go and fall apart,
Absolutely.
like that's really important. And, and also just share ridiculous memes and jokes.
I love that, the space for that. So much fun.
Gotta be everything. Yeah, it can't just be like all serious and deep all the time.
Absolutely. All right, Graeme, I'm going to pass the proverbial mic to you. Your turn.
See, mine is going to sound like really superficial, but okay. I'm not going to judge.
No judgment.
I want to know what you want for Mother's Day. And okay, so this has like parts. What do you want from your kids? What do you want from your friends? What do you want from yourself? What do you want from your husband? Like, what do you want from separate out like the little groups in your life?
Ooh, that's such a big question. Yeah. Okay, it's really funny because I'm in a Facebook group with writers and somebody just said, like, for a story I'm working on, does anybody have like a super splurgy want for Mother's Day? And I knew my answer immediately because I have been wanting for a little while now an in-home sauna, which is pretty splurgy. And one of my coaches, I think, recommended, I think you might really enjoy going to the sauna. And so I have a local place I've been going to. And I really love the way it feels. Like it's quiet and I unplug a little bit in there. And, by the end, I'm like completely sweating and I just feel like there's been a release. And then afterwards, I have this sense of calm. And I just keep thinking about if I had access to that in my home, not just once a week, but a few times a week, I think I would be less stressed and more calm and healthier. And it's something I really want, but it's not that practical and it's expensive and we have to make a place for it in our garage. And there's all these reasons not to have it.
Stop being realistic.
So that's the first time there's like an item, like a thing I really would want. I would say I've also learned, this has been a lesson like now several years in the making, that Mother's Day sometimes can feel like a day I have to perform or I have to show up for other people. And I have learned that one of the things I love the most is to have space for myself that day, which doesn't mean I don't want to be with my children or have a family dinner or, something. But I now go into Mother's Day knowing that day is for me and carving out space and time for whatever I think is going to feel personally fulfilling. I also have a lot of hopes around Mother's Day time for the Mother's Quest community. So in the month of May, I always want to hold space for other moms. I like to think I do that all the time, but I bring some additional intention to that. And I do always invite people to be part of this manifesto challenge that you and I co-created all those years ago. And I was re-listening to our episode and I know I named someday I want 1 million mom manifestos. And the idea for that, especially around Mother's Day, is, it's opportunity for moms to make their own declarations. It's their, how do they want to reclaim themselves in motherhood and how do they want to live their lives? And I always think that if we could get 1 million moms doing that around Mother's Day, that's where massive change could happen. So that's a big world wish that has not come to fruition yet. Great question. Let's see. Okay. I have some follow-up questions from themes that came from our podcast episode. One of the things you talked about is how much you love Octavia Butler and that phrase from Parable of the Sower. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. God is change. I am wondering how those words, these concepts that were so resonant for you 5 years ago, what are you learning about those now? Do they still feel resonant? Do you have a different understanding of it given all that you've been through? What are your thoughts about it?
Oh, she's so timeless. Yes, 1,000,000% they still resonate. I have been mad at them a few times. I've been mad at those words and those thoughts multiple times over the last few years because I have not liked the changes. And I've had to remind myself that nobody ever said I would like the changes, just that things would keep changing. And I've allowed myself to just feel however I'm going to feel about it, to pout, to be childish, to be completely immature, to have temper tantrums. Not like at my kids or anything. Like these are in private moments, But I don't make myself put on a brave face anymore. I did in the beginning when I first started getting sick. And even before that, like at the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was so terrified, I felt a massive amount of pressure to show up for moms and for like my community of moms and hold everybody together and be like, all right, hurricane's coming or a huge massive storm is coming. We don't even know what it is. We don't know if it's a hurricane or a tornado or what, because at the very beginning, we had no clue. And I'm sure you can remember that, like, just gut clenching terror, and I felt a lot of pressure to like show up and somehow be like, all right, we're all going to hold hands. We're going to make a chain and hold hands and get through this. Everything's, going to be okay. And to do that for my kids. And at some point, Adam and I were just like, are you lying? Because I'm lying. we realized we were just doing that for each other too. We were like, brave facing for each other. And we're like, why am I lying to you? Like, dude, you live in my house. You know all this stuff is silly, right? And so it started with like Adam and I being honest with each other. And then with us being honest with the kids, not in a, terrifying them way, but in a like, yeah, we don't know everything. Here's what we know, but we don't know everything. And it's okay that we don't know everything, right? And then I started to get sick. And at the same time, my dad has gotten extremely sick and it was very fast and then slow. And all of the changes just kept coming and they were all bad. And I was really, really angry. And I wasn't able to see all of the good, amazing, cool changes until I let myself be angry. Until I let myself say, oh, this sucks. This hurts. I don't like this. I don't want this. This is horrible. And the more that I let myself get that out and just pout about it, just like get it out and not try and make it okay, then I was able to see like, oh, this cool thing that my daughter drew or painted. She's gotten really, I don't know, maybe she's always had this artistic talent, but it started to really come out in the last year and it blows me away because nobody else in our family is like that. We don't know where it came from. And we're all like, this is so cool, this cool thing that my son built or how sweet and tender he has been with me, even while he's, turning into a tween and being all, I don't know, arm of God, it's ridiculous. Like, dude, I used to wipe your butt. I'm not impressed. But at the same time, he's been very, very tender with me, especially on the days when I really needed it. And I couldn't see those changes. I couldn't see the way that he's maturing or this amazing talent that she has when I was trying to be a good mom. When I let all that stuff go and was just like, ow, this hurts and is horrible. And that release of like getting it out made space for me to see all of the other changes.
So much of what you're saying is resonating for me. One, my theme for the year is making space and just this clarity that you're talking about in terms of you have to be able to sometimes let go and release your anger, the thoughts that don't serve you, like this whole like good mom in quotes is so damaging. I'm really appreciating that. And what I'm also thinking a lot about you and your journey right now is what's happening with my youngest, who's about the same age as your son, Jacob, who has already been holding a lot of challenges for himself. He has ADHD. And then we learned during the pandemic that he is dyslexic and has dysgraphia. And for him, like an area that always felt good and where he was always very competent and could find joy was in his physical athletic ability. He's always been like the active kid, out on the basketball court. And in November, he got diagnosed with a rare knee condition.
No.
Yep. And he's got it in both knees. It's called osteochondritis dissecans. Never knew this thing existed. But of course, now I'm connected with mothers around the world who are grappling with this for their children. And he's, all these outlets that used to feel so great for him are not available to him. At the moment, he's on restricted activity. So no running or jumping. That's been since November. So we're on 6 months living that way. And looking at probably having surgery in July, which will have its own very long recovery process. And that's for one knee. And then you have to look at the other knee. And so he and I both have been really struggling with like the change that has happened in his life and how pissed off we are about it.
Yeah.
He's better at expressing his anger than I am. He loves all the bad words, but it's been tough. But actually on the way to school today, I was saying to him, like, what are some things that you feel like have come into your life that are really good that wouldn't have happened without your knee? And, we were able to name some really amazing substantive things that I'm grateful for. But there is this fine line between like, how am I not gaslighting him or trying to pretend like it's all good by focusing some of our attention there and not acknowledging the really bad. So I'd love to hear you share a little bit more about how do you hold those things, and have there been any other good things that have come into your personal life? You've named changes you're observing in your kids, but I'd love to know if you've discovered some things that you wouldn't have discovered otherwise because of what you've been through.
So I don't know if I would have discovered them otherwise. I would much rather, honestly, I would much rather have discovered them otherwise. But there is really awesome stuff that has kind of come through. I started knitting. So there's part of what's going on is there's brain damage. And what my neurologist wanted me to do, he gave me like this list of stuff. And he wanted me to learn something new where I had to use my hands and where I had to recognize patterns. So there's a lot of crafting stuff. Like knitting was on there, crocheting was on there, learning how to draw, calligraphy. I can't remember everything that was on the list right now. It's brain damage. I'm going to just use that as an excuse. It's a very handy excuse. I chose knitting, and I don't know why I chose knitting. I just did. My grandmother used to crochet. And so you'd think that I would maybe have, but no, I just chose knitting. And I love it. I love it. Not so much, because he thought, oh, knitting, that's good. We can just go to like Joanne and get, or like Hobby Lobby, or, and just get a bunch of yarn. And what he did not know is that I would fall down the rabbit hole. And I have now become like this obsessive fan of all of these indie yarn dyers that are all around the country and in Canada. And in the UK, I ordered yarn. He's like, babe, please, why is it $200 for a sweater? It's just ridiculous.
I love it.
And I'm like, but it's therapy. And he's like, but our insurance doesn't think that. So, yeah. But I love it. I love the way that it feels. I love the colors. I love the squish, if that makes sense. Like there's a squish that happens with really good yarn that doesn't happen with anything else. And also I have been challenging myself. He got me this book of 400 patterns. And that's really hard. It's really, really hard. But then I made this hat for my mother-in-law, and she loves it, and she wears it all the time. And I feel like Superman. I made a sweater for my daughter, and not only did she wear it to school, but then she made her teacher take a picture of her and sent it to me. And I felt like it was just the best feeling to be like, I made that. It's really, really cool. And I don't know that I'd ever would have started, I only did it as an assignment. It started
And now it's like true joy for you.
and now I have 4. I'm sitting on my bed and looking around just at what I can see, right? There are 2 sweaters, there's a hat, and there's a t-shirt.
A t-shirt?
Can I knit a t-shirt?
That's fascinating.
I'm knitting. Okay, I just can't ever tell my sister about this podcast. It's fine. I'm knitting. I'm knitting matching t-shirt. My sister's birthday is in July, and I'm knitting matching t-shirts for her and my daughter.
That's so sweet.
Because they are sort of obsessed with each other, and they're very, very cute together. And I was like, all right, I'm doing this. This will make her so happy. Like both hers, the 2 of them are it's gonna be ridiculous. But it also makes me really happy. Because it's like I have this little, I've told you now, so it's not really a secret. But I have this little secret, like all the time, every time I'm working on it, whenever I'm working on it, I'm like thinking of their fit, because neither of them knows about this.
Yeah.
Right. So choosing the colors and choosing the pattern and figuring out something where it would look cool and sophisticated for her, for my sister, but also not too adult, not weird on a 7-year-old, And then I got like a darker purple for my sister and a lighter purple for my daughter. And they're just going to be so cute. And it feels really good. Even when I've got a migraine and my joints are super huge and I have to wear compression gloves to knit, even when all I can do is like one round or one line on it, still feels good. Like on the worst days, it still feels really good.
So I'm wondering if you have any from this experience that you've had, and I'm so glad that you've discovered this place of joy and goodness, even though it's not what you would have picked. Do you have any words of wisdom for Jacob or for me as his mom as we're navigating this physical disability that we never expected?
You said that he loves all of the bad words. I don't know if you've seen, but there are coloring books that are just curse words.
I have not seen that.
If there's a word that he really loves to like as a way of like stress relief, that when he's having a bad day or when he's in the hospital and it hurts, right? That you can just get a 4-letter word and sit and color together.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's been really hard, because my kids have felt like they needed to be okay all of the time whenever I was hurting. Like they'd be squabbling and then I would walk into the room and they would stop. Like they would stop being kids because they knew that, I had a really bad headache or I was really sick or whatever, And so it's been really important to me to make it okay for them to still just be kids. Like if your sister's annoying you, she's annoying you. Like the fact that I'm sick doesn't make her less annoying. She's 7. 7-year-olds are annoying. Like that's just how they are, right? So if there's whatever you can do, and some of it is just saying it flat out to him, like, it's okay that this sucks, dude, because it sucks. And I'm your mom, and part of my job is also reminding you of all of the good things. But, it also just sucks. Like, yeah, and you can say that. You're allowed. You're allowed to say like one bad word a day, or you have a pass for when I'm trying to cheer you up to just be like, no, mom, it just sucks. And I have to say, okay, it just sucks. If he gets to be in charge of some balance. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
But also my kids are really weird. So what has helped them may not, that's something we've all been doing. We've all been embracing the weird. All of us have been embracing the weird. What have you been embracing lately?
Back to me. Oh, what a good question. Let me think about that for a minute. So one thing that popped into my head is I have been working on embracing my body. I did a solo cast over the summer called Dear Body. And, speaking of talking to ourselves, like I basically coached myself through a process, which was really powerful for me around like looking back on my life and thinking about when were the times when I felt the most embodied or empowered or good in my body. Because, one of the big changes that has happened for me over these 5 years is I'm now like on the other side of menopause. So I've gone through like all the things, I'm already completely on the other side, but still very much impacted by the fact that I'm now a postmenopausal woman. And, definitely for me have gained weight and a lot of things, a lot of changes have not always been that kind. And I still catch myself. Like I was actually taking photographs of Ton Hall, this incredible woman that we're featuring in a blog post that I wrote. And, while we went to take pictures, I was like saying not nice things about myself. Like, I know I'm not going to like these pictures. I don't feel like I look good today, like whatever. And they had to be a mirror for me. Like, wait a minute, what's going on there? But this process that I moved myself through and I have in this podcast episode, and I have like, it ended with me writing a letter to my body from myself. Because I realized like I had one of those like expansive mind moments like you had when you're a kid, when you look at the stars, where I was like, oh my God, my body has been with me my whole life. Wow, mind blown. And I really wanted to like acknowledge and appreciate my body for being here as this like vessel where I get to live this physical life. So all of the lessons in that letter are things that I am embracing, but I have to keep reminding myself. Like I'll notice, oh, wow, I've really started to stray from that. I got to pull that letter out again and remind myself. So that's one thing, I guess, embracing my body and really thinking about my body as this vessel for the life that I'm living. A lot of that also came from the experience of being present while my dad died and realizing like, wow, this body that is completely collapsing, that was his ticket to being with us. And now he's not able to be with us in the same way. And so we want to do whatever we can to try to take the best care of our bodies. So that's one thing. I think I am always embracing this idea that like I can have an impact. And I'd say that's also a way that things have evolved for me. 5 years ago was still a lot closer to when I just launched Mother's Quest. And that was like this deep desire I had to feel like I could make an impact beyond my family. That of course I was showing up, and I had already been navigating a lot as an advocate for my oldest son who's autistic and had lost myself in motherhood. And I felt like I needed to reclaim my whole human self, as you would say, and this idea that I could actually make a positive impact in the world in addition to showing up as a mom. And I continue to come back to that in amazing ways. And now I can look back at a body of work and things that I've done and lives that I've touched over these last 5 years that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't made my declaration to live an epic life, which really is my manifesto, which I realize as we're getting close to our time together kind of brings us back to this idea of the power and importance of us claiming our own manifestos, the way that we want to live our life, the way that we want to show up in our lives. So I'm continuing to embrace that. I definitely believe in this idea that like our life and our personal growth is on a spiral. So I have moments where I come back to sometimes losing myself or the sense that I can make an impact. But now it's easier for me to remember and kind of come back around and step back into a place of empowerment because of all the things that I've been through and the lessons I've learned and the ways that I have moved into making an impact, even when it feels scary or even when I feel like I don't know what the next right move is. I know that if I make a commitment and I put it out there and for me, it's like talking to people or writing about it or, going down the research rabbit hole, I can typically find my answers as long as I'm on the search and on the quest.
You've got muscle memory.
That's a great way of thinking about it. Yeah, I love that.
Like, oh, I'm lost again, but I know how to find my way.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that I can hear the smile in your voice when you're talking about it. Like it comes through. I can hear your excitement. Still, like all of these years later, you could be bored by now.
I'm still at it.
No, like it's still making you sound excited. So that's amazing. I love that for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm thinking about that I am leaving Thursday morning to go to Florida. And it will be the third time that I'm volunteering at Sabrina Fulton's Circle of Mothers Healing Retreat for mothers that have lost children to gun violence. She created it after losing her son, Trayvon Martin. And, now that's part of how I show up in the world. My connection to her and to the mothers there. I have helped to bring specific mothers over the years who wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't met them and introduced them to Circle of Mothers. I go with my sister, who's the founder of Democracy Clothing, and we bring jeans to all the moms, which the first time we did it, we thought this is a horrible idea. And now we get to see the joy that they feel when they feel good and feel like they're looking good and have a sense of comfort and have one less thing to worry about because they have something to put on in the morning that makes them feel great. And all these things just have unfolded in sort of seemingly magical ways, but it's always because, back to your original intention, I've been open to seeing what's possible.
Yeah. Yes.
So Graeme, as we're getting close to the end of our time, I'm thinking about our manifestos. And when I said it's been 5 years, and I'm wondering what you've learned about manifestos. And you said to me, I think we were doing voice messages back and forth, and you're like, oh yeah, I had to burn my manifesto to the ground and rebuild it. So before we close with acknowledgements, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. What is your thinking about your manifesto? When I interviewed you, your manifesto was all around the Motherhood Bill of Rights. Do you have a manifesto now? Is it the same or different? What are your thoughts around the importance of claiming a manifesto?
It served me really, really well. And because it changed my relationship with Adam and built this foundation so that when I got sick and basically he's basically been a single parent for the past 2 years. He's been taking care of the kids. He's also been taking care of me. And then also working, and it's only in the last 3-ish months that I've really been able to do basic things like make my own lunch. The man has been doing everything. But we already had this foundation of us being a team, right? So it's not like I got sick and he had to learn practical stuff about running our house. That didn't happen. He already knew all of it. He hadn't ever had to do it only on his own for maybe more than a weekend or, a week if I was traveling, right? But he knew it all. So my old manifesto served its purpose. Because it needed to change doesn't make it wrong. Again, we're back to that change. Everything changed, right? It needed to change because my life has changed. And it's changed radically. And so where it is now is a lot around embracing my humanity and not seeing my humanity. We tend to say the word human when we mean flawed. I'm only human. I'm not perfect. You're basically saying I screwed up. And so then we connect human to something that's a mistake. That's a flaw. That's a crack. That's a problem, right? I'm trying to redefine that for myself. So I don't have one yet because it's still in the creation, in the becoming.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking about it a lot. You did this to me. This is your fault because this is what happens every May. I start thinking about it. It just has become, very connected in my head with this month and with Mother's Day and with, I've started thinking what is even just 1 or 2 sentences, a mini manifesto. What if I don't have everything, but I have a mini manifesto?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just that being whole and being human and being a mom all at the same time is pretty badass.
I love this because just a reminder, the hashtag you and I came up with the first year we did it was 1 Minute Mom Manifesto. And it was because we were like, how can we invite moms to claim a manifesto for themselves, but not feel like it has to be this like 30-page document? So I love the idea of a mini manifesto. And I've actually now created a course from a process that I led the community through the first Mother's Day during COVID when we were all like losing ourselves all over again. I like a good acronym. So it's based on choose, and it leads you through a 7-day process of reflection to land you at the end with your own manifesto, which you can express in any way that works for you. And this is not meant to create any pressure, but I would love to gift you the reflection journal and the course and see if it might support you as you claim your new mini manifesto.
Oh, look, no, that would be awesome. What I'm learning is, as much as I hate structure, I need it. I need it so much. I cannot go and blaze trails on my own at the moment. I need to walk on trails that others have where they've already, kind of hacked away at the land for me. And that's okay. Like, that's totally fine for me to need that for as long as I need it.
Well, it would be an honor to be able to create some space and structure for you. And I'll make sure that I link in the show notes to the Manifesto Challenge. And I don't know that it's right timing for us to hit that 1 million mom manifesto mark yet, but I'm hoping that this conversation and our connection and all the reflections we shared today inspire a few more moms to say yes to this process. So that's sort of I'll bring us back to the challenge we laid out and the structure that now is there for people to claim for themselves. I think sadly, I would love to talk to you a lot longer, but I also want to honor your time. And I think that we should close with acknowledgements.
I think I kind of already did. I did that a little bit earlier. My sisters or siblings that held me through all of this time. And honestly, before we go, because I haven't been able to say this like publicly, just because I haven't had the words, there are not words that will describe how just deeply amazing Adam has been over the past couple of years. Like, he is the person who doesn't let me overdo at his own expense, right? Because if I'm not doing the whatever, then he's doing it. Because it's just us. He's the one who reminds me that I'm enough and that I am more than enough and that all of my more is amazing, even when it's not, even when it's horrible and crappy. And, he bought me a shower chair because I couldn't stand up in the shower, and somehow made it feel like this amazing romantic gift. Who does that? How is that possible? That's not even possible. That's not like, so even though I don't need the shower chair anymore, like, it's still in the hallway. And I mean, now it just has clothes on it because, we have kids. But I don't want to get rid of it because when I look at it, it makes me feel loved. It's not even just guys. Like, I don't know how many people there are in the world who could do that, who could pull that off. But I am ridiculously blessed in my life with these people that are all around me. And you are so much included in that, because the second that I popped my head up out of my hole, was like, hey, I think I might be back. You were right there cheering me on. It means a lot. It's not this huge number of people. It's not hundreds. It's not thousands. It is literally like 2 hands worth of people. And it is so much more than enough. So I just wanted to, before we go, the last few years have been really hard and horrible and life-threatening at times. But the folks that are still here with me are just amazing. Just amazing. Now I'm just like, it's good that we're not on video because I'm all puffy and disgusting.
But we're working on embracing all those things.
We're embracing all the stuff. It's just, I don't know how much we're embracing runny noses, but red eyes, fine. Runny noses, maybe not. Like, there's a line. That maybe that's the line.
Yes.
We embrace.
That's so beautiful, Graeme. Thank you for sharing all that. What I was going to say around the acknowledgements is also at the end of the episode, I wanted to give you an opportunity to identify any new insights you feel like you have. And that may be what you just shared now around the incredible, what it feels like to be so deeply loved. But I want to give you an opportunity to say anything else you want to acknowledge in the way of your own insights as a result of this conversation.
You know what I realized while I was thanking the folks who really needed to be thanked is that, there's been a lot of loss. And some of that loss has been me having to step away from people and set boundaries, just like what we were talking about before, like with me and my anger and everything that's going on with you and your son. Like, some things and some people had to be let go of so that I could really lean on the folks that I needed to really lean on. And they weren't, by and large, the people that I've lost. Some of them I miss. Sometimes change just sucks, but it's still necessary. Like, it still had to happen. It still had to happen. And the boundaries that I've had to set, I've had grief around some of those boundaries, that didn't make the boundary wrong. Accepting that, that's okay. And I said this a million years ago, like, our job is not to make our children happy. That's not our job. If we spend all of our time trying to make them happy, we will actually be really bad parents. Like, all my kids want right now is like ice cream and Legos and video games. And if I wanted to make them happy, it would only be ice cream and Legos and video games. Like, that's not healthy. That's not good. That's not a life. That's not my job. That's not my job. My job is to raise human beings. And so for myself, my job is to embrace all of my humanness. Just allowing yourself to not be mature at all and just say that things are sucky and poopy. And kids have really awesome words for things. Very descriptive, and you hit the nail on the head. It's poopy. Like, yes, it is poopy. That is exactly what it is. You're so right.
Yeah, my kid's words are much more colorful than that.
Oh, getting over.
I'm going to try to give him more space to just own the words and color the words. We'll try that. Well, Graeme, okay, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need to listen back to this again to integrate all the insight and wisdom. It's one of those conversations where I feel like there are just so many layers. But a few things that I want to acknowledge and insights that I've had. First of all, I know I said this at the beginning, but I want to acknowledge the incredible body of work that you have put out into the world around the invisible labor of mothers, around having more equitable partnership in the home when it comes to all of the tasks that are involved in raising a family and taking care of a household. And I'm thinking about the fact that I interviewed Eve Rodsky, who's the author of Fair Play. Have you heard about her work yet?
Everybody keeps telling me, like, I couldn't read for a while. There was, brain that couldn't read. But people keep telling me, like, you have to, do you know her? Do you know her? And I'm like, no, but these are obvious truths.
Yes, it seems like it might be obvious, but the truth tellers, which you are and which Eve are, and the ability to express it in a way that gets people to pay attention, it's not so evident.
Like, I follow her on Instagram and I'm like, yes, that's what Christ said. Thank you. Like, it just feels really affirming.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels really good. I'm like, someone else did all of the research and all of the work. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to connect you. I will for sure send you the episode. I know you're only listening sometimes and when it feels good, but I will send that your way. And, I just have this real sense that your work and what you contributed before Fair Play was published is like, part of the foundation of the conversation changing now. And your work has ongoing ripples in that way. And what you shared about Adam, one of the things Eve talks about is that a lot of times fathers are not empowered in the household.
Right. Yeah.
And you have modeled that in such an amazing way from the very beginning. It was something I always appreciated about like truly sharing with your partner. And the fact that you said that all of that work like served its purpose so that he was actually able to hold what he has held in this way. And he didn't have to learn it because he was always a partner. That is exceptional. I'm really leaving with more insights around change, the fact that it can really suck and that we can hold both, as you say, like true truths you had said in our first episode on the podcast, like it can suck and we actually have to create space to have all the feelings and to release the anger. And at the same time, there can be things that we discover, which maybe we wouldn't have chosen that, but that doesn't have to diminish the discovery of new joys in our lives. And then I'm also leaving with this great realization around muscle memory in our own personal growth and the unfolding of our epic lives. And that, that we might feel that we're lost again and again, but each time we have more muscle memory to come back to ourselves.
Julie, you make me sound smart.
You're very smart, Graeme.
Yeah, this is good. I think you should just follow me around and reinterpret all of the mess that comes out of my mouth.
It did not require reinterpretation. It's just a summary.
Oh my gosh.
Graeme, thank you for saying yes. The last thing you and I did together around the Manifesto Challenge was a few years ago, and we did a yes day on Zoom together. And, all, of course, about saying yes to ourselves. And I want to acknowledge you for saying yes to this invitation, which may have felt, as you said, like you're just sort of putting yourself out there again. But the fact that you were open to sharing this time and space and your voice with us is brave. And I know it's going to be a gift for everybody listening. And it was a gift for me.
No, that's you, because I don't know who else I would have trusted. I'll take my part of it, but you have to split this pie with me because you hold space in this really don't have words. I'm starting to lose my words, but in this way that feels like a blanket, like comforting and like warmth and like everything is going to be okay. And so there's room to say whatever needs to be said. I don't know. Adam asked me if I was scared and I was like, who could be scared to talk to Julie?
Aww.
And he's like, I don't know her. I'm like, well, I do, like, no, it's just not a thing that you can be. You just can't. I am losing my words, but I hope that it makes some sense.
It does. I'm teary over here on this end. Well, I'm so grateful for this time and to share it. And I hope that it sparks some more moms to step back into owning our stories, even when parts of it suck, and just, helping us find the places where we can feel a sense of power about how we want to live our lives, given what is right in front of us on our path. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this episode of the Mother's Quest podcast. I hope this conversation sparked something that will help you live your epic life. If you'd like to get show notes and learn more about how to join the Mother's Quest community, visit mothersquest.com. And while you're there, I would love it if you would follow the prompts to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and help us to spread the word. I want to end with some words to help light the way on your quest. Seize the day, love your people, honor your gifts. Until next time.